Welcome to Vision Possible. I am so glad you're here. You're a visionary. If you're watching this program right now, you, my friend, are a visionary. That means you want to take what's in your heart and the idea, the dream, the project that you have, and you want to get it into the marketplace. You've got to get it out there in the marketplace, and you know that you're just supposed to. And I love that because I know that feeling. Believe me, I'm sitting in a room full of ideas that have gotten to the marketplace, and there's a lot of ideas you can't see around here that have the potential to be in the marketplace, and I'm so excited to get them into the marketplace. But how do we go about doing that? And before we get going on that, I just want to encourage you guys to watch Vision Possible. This channel, watch all the videos on here. We have so many great teachers. We do 5 live teachings a week as of this recording. I'm probably going to expand that a little bit in the future. 5 separate teachers, 5 live recordings each week. And you can watch the recordings later on, obviously. All about areas from finance to motivation, to entertainment, to entrepreneurship. The list goes on. Social media, all that stuff. And so we want to make sure that you guys are getting equipped to get your dream out there. And, you know, these videos are done for you. They're done all for you. And we want to make sure that you don't make the same mistakes we made as we were climbing the ladder to get where we wanted to get. And by the way, once I got to the top of one ladder, I wanted to go to the next ladder. I'm a person who likes to climb. I enjoy the climb. Some climbs are harder than others. And, you know, that first climb sure seems hard. But after you get to the second, third, and fourth climb, that first climb doesn't seem so bad anymore. So each climb has its own set of challenges. And that is something I wanted to prepare you for. That's what these videos are for. And we're just glad that you're here. You're a visionary. What does that mean? It means you have you have foresight. You can see it in your head. You probably started on something and you want to get it going. So today's lesson or video or talking. Today's talk is all about the break. The break, and the break can have many different connotations. It can mean that you've in the negative sense, it can mean you're at a breaking point. You've broken. You've tried so hard, nothing's working, you just break. I can't handle this anymore. There's that, interpretation of the break, but that's not really what we're talking about. The break we're talking about is the big break. You've gotten your big break. The big break is here. What do I do? How do I, how do I go about taking advantage of the big break? And by the way, how did the big break even happen? What was the moment? If you've already experienced a big break, what was that moment like for you? You should probably write that down. I mean, if you haven't written it down, or if maybe you wrote it down a while ago, maybe write it down again and just remind yourself of what it felt like to get that big break. What was that like? What was that like? Do you remember that moment where you're like, wow, a door opened. Now's my chance. I got that acting part. I got that writing job. I got that apprenticeship. I got that internship, whatever it is. When someone said yes to you, what was that like? Now, the cool thing about it is, yes, that happened. Congratulations. If it hasn't happened for you yet, pay attention. We're going to talk about that. But when that happened for you, if you're one of those people out there that got a big break in something, how do you repeat that process? How do we clone that moment so it happens over and over and over again? How do we manage to keep the break train or the success train rolling? How do we manage to keep these things moving forward? Easy. We look at the steps it took to get that first break, and we just do our best to put ourselves in that similar type of situation. For example, when I was at Nickelodeon, before I got to Nickelodeon, I started moving out of my place of, basically I worked as an artist for many, many years. And I still work as an artist. I still am an artist. I draw every day. But when I was employed as an artist, I was just that. I was just an artist. Nothing wrong with that. But that is not where I wanted to stay. I wanted to move into the realm of producing and directing and writing and, creating shows of my own. And so I just knew there was something in me that was just telling me to do it. And I really knew that it was something I had to do. But how did I move into that? How did I go from being just an artist, just a cog in a machine, to becoming the machine, the guy who creates the machine, and then hiring other artists? How did I move into that realm? One of the steps I took was I started hanging out with other people that had done it. I started trying to gravitate toward people who had successfully gotten to a point where they were selling shows, they were selling, creative ideas, they were producing things, they were making sure that, they were getting their ideas, bought by studios and stuff like that. And I started wanting to meet these people. Hey, I would take them to lunch, or I would even hang out with the people that ran Hanna-Barbera when I worked at Hanna-Barbera. I'd even take them to lunch, the executives, because I wanted to know what their day was like. How is your day different than mine? We all have the same 24 hours. But how is your day different than mine? How is, your daily experience different? And how are you able to do all these successful things I see you doing? How are you able to make all this money that I see you making? How are you able to get your ideas done and on television and on the internet? How are you able to do that? You need to start asking people these questions. How do you go about, cultivating an environment around you that allows for growth? Well, that was a big sentence. How do you cultivate an environment around you that allows for growth? How do you get people around you that will help you grow? I remember I used to go to all kinds of classes too. I went to acting classes. I went to music classes. I went to writing classes. I went to drawing. Are you in any drawing classes? I looked at my job as my drawing class every day because I was always around other artists and I would pretty much learn from them. So I didn't really do a lot of drawing classes because that was what I did for a living. But, I wanted to learn how to play guitar. I wanted to learn how to, write scripts and all this stuff. And what I really learned from all of that, from all those processes, what's the plural? Anyway, all those different types of processes was, it really came down to me. How much bandwidth did I have in a day? How much bandwidth was I capable of putting out there? How many things could I take in and do successfully? And that's kind of where I was. I always wanted to grow, and I didn't have anybody in my family or in my life as I grew up from being a kid. I never had anybody in my family that was in the entertainment industry. I didn't have a dad who worked on set at Paramount. I didn't have a mom who, worked as a finance person over at Fox Studios. I didn't have an aunt and uncle who worked in the costume department. I didn't have anybody like that because I grew up in Michigan. And in Michigan, not a lot of call for entertainment stuff out there. There's some news channels and radio stations and things like that. But I didn't really get into it back there. I didn't really know how to do it. I had my eyes set on California as a very young kid. I wanted to come to California and be an animator for Walt Disney. That was my goal. From the time I was very, very young, I always had that dream and that goal. And I knew that I would do it someday. There was really no doubt in my mind I would do it. And that's the kind of attitude you have to have. To get that big break, you've got to have the attitude that I'm going to do this and nothing's going to stop me. You may have done a few projects now as well. You may have done a few projects. You were sure that was the one that was going to get you over the top. You were positive, boy, I put so much work into this. And for some reason, it just hasn't happened yet. That's no problem. You have so much experience now from that project that no one can take that away from you. That's the beautiful part about experience, is that it creates experience. You may have done a project, you're like, man, this is the one. This for sure. This is going to knock their socks off, and you do it, and the people, maybe you've even been paid to do it. Somebody wanted you to make it for them, and for sure, this will be our next big series on the network, and boy, and you make it, and then nothing happens. And, you're like, well, I thought that was going to be the big break, but, or that was going to be another break, but the main thing was it created experience in your life. And that's why it was good that you did it. So don't ever despise a project that you've worked on that didn't, get to the level you thought it was going to get to. Don't ever despise that, because it does add up to something. But going back to the break, how do you get that big break? How do you get to a point in Hollywood? I'm just going to use Hollywood as an example now. How do you get to that entertainment break? How do you make that break happen? Let me ask you this. What are you willing to do? I know you want to be a director, right? Or you want to be a show creator. I get this all the time. I just talked to someone recently. I want to create my own shows. This person's like 25 years old. Wonderful. That's great. It's going to be really hard to create your own shows if you've never worked on another show. This one a particular project I was working on a while back, this individual wanted to, create their own show. And I was trying to caution this person that I'm glad you want to do that, but you really should have some experience being on a show just to kind of see what goes into it. So when you do get your show, you're going to be able to, make it. You're going to be able to understand what goes on. But this person wanted to jump right from the bottom right to the top. And now I'm not saying that can't happen. It can happen. But it happens very rarely because you build relationships along with the experience. People forget about that. The experience is so important because it allows you to build relationships. And 99% of the time in Hollywood and anywhere else, most jobs, most breaks you get are going to come from relationships. You need to build relationships with people. You just do. You've got to build relationships with, people that are in production. You got to build relationships with people that are in costuming, if you're in Hollywood, that is. People that are in the writer's room, people that are in, the execs. As a kid, I remember I was 21 years old, I got this job at an animation studio, and my boss at the time, really wonderful guy, much older than me, but he would take me to lunch all the time, and we would just talk about career, success, goals, that kind of thing. And it really taught me a lot. This guy's 30-something years older than me, and look how he's handling it, and he's giving me some advice I can't get anywhere else. I never turned down one lunch with him. And then he would introduce me to people that had other types of experience, in Hollywood and in getting to where I wanted to be. Because, learning about, it's hard to learn things on your own. It really is. You can learn them, of course you can. But having a mentor or a guide, if you will, I think is invaluable. And that's one thing I want you to write down. Write down the word mentor. Mentor is an invaluable tool or asset you can have for your goal. And like I said, if you can't figure out where to go next, go try and meet somebody who's been there. I get emails every day from people who say they want to create shows like me or they want to be in Hollywood like me. And I don't answer all of them because I can't. There's just too many. But I am very grateful when they ask me those questions, because it shows me that they're at least reaching out. I've reached back to a few people too. My wife and I had a conversation with an individual the other day. This person had reached out to me via email, and their letter was so moving to me because of some experiences they had been through that I thought, well, we've got to not just write back to this person, we need to do a Zoom call with them as well. And so we did, and the person was just so wonderful and so awesome and younger than me, obviously. But it was just so cool because I was so happy that this person had reached out, because now their level of experience is going to go up because they've reached out to someone who's been there. I want you guys to begin reaching out to people that have been there. Begin to reach out to people that have been there. I don't know how to reach out. How do I get a hold of them? Listen, you've got something a lot more valuable than I had when I was your age. You've got the internet. Find out how. If they have an Instagram, message them. If they have a Facebook page, message them. If they have a Twitter page, message them. Do something. By the way, if they don't answer, at least you tried. You probably went into a bin of a million other messages they have, but they might just be that one time where they do see your message. You never know. But now that things in the pandemic are lightening up, people are getting back out there in the world a little bit more. There's more person-to-person, face-to-face meetings and things. Maybe now is a time you can actually meet somebody in person. There's a lot of comic book conventions that are opening up again, and I'm so excited. I finally get to go out and meet the fans again, and I just can't tell you how excited that makes me that these big meet and greets are going to start opening up again. That is a thrill for me to hear. Number one, because I love meeting the fans, and number two, I get to, talk to people again and encourage them, and that's the great part. I guess that was all number one. Shouldn't have been two. It was just one. So anyway, but guys, the big break. Sometimes you get that break and I even realize that you had a break. There was a family member I had who had an amazing job right out of college, got this incredible job, and didn't really realize the kind of job that they had until they quit the job, because they thought it'd be easy to get another job just like that. And those jobs were very few and far between. Obviously, those jobs didn't pan out. And, getting that, sometimes it's hard for a person to get that one amazing gig right out of the gate, because they think every gig is going to be that great from that point on. Or they think every gig is going to be that easy to get. and it's really not. You've really got to make sure that you keep a perspective on things. And that's why having a mentor, having a group around you is very, very valuable. Having a support system around you. If you don't have a support system, that's fine. Try and build one, though. I always say this. I've said this on, I think, pretty much every video I've talked about. Don't be an island unto yourself. Well, I'm just going to do this by myself. And you can do a lot by yourself, but it helps to have a team. And getting a team together, getting a partner, all these things. I want to make sure you have contracts and agreements between all of you so you know that, who does what and who is responsible for what, who gets paid what is a huge one as well. So the big break, what can it be? It could be like, look, you've auditioned and gotten the lead in a Broadway play. That's pretty cool. Are you ready once you get there too? Most likely you are. The big break can be, hey, we're going to buy your show as a series. Wow. And by the way, I want you to know something. When they buy your show as a series, when they say yes, we're going to make your show, you're at least 2 years away from that show going on the air. It doesn't happen overnight. They say, yes, we're going to buy your show. And then you got to go into development. You got to go into writing your show and developing it out and adding characters, sitting with the network executives. You're bringing on a team. If you're doing an animated show, you've got to then, after about 6 to 8 months of developing it, let's say it all goes perfectly, then you've got to start animating it and get about 8 or 9 episodes done before you put it on the air. And that's about another year. So you're looking at like almost 2 years if it goes perfectly. I've been on shows where I was told, yes, we're going to make your show. And it was 4 years later, 5 years later, the show finally went on television. And so that big break sounds awesome at first, and it is, but believe me, the break is great. But there's a lot of work that goes along with it. And sometimes we get so, and this is very important, listen to this. Sometimes we're so addicted to the chase, and we're so addicted to the hunt for the break, that when the break comes, it sort of takes the wind out of our sails. You've been going and hunting and chopping through weeds and, and scaling down cliffs and fighting wild animals in order to find that treasure. When you finally find it, the thrill's kind of gone. Wait, but I was always supposed to be doing, and then you finally get what you've always wanted, and it doesn't really have the same pizzazz, So that's why I want you to really balance yourself. The hunt is very important, and the goal is very important. Place an equal importance on both. Just don't place it all on the hunt. And then once you get to the goal, it doesn't matter. Or don't just place it all on the goal that the hunt tires you out and then you give up and then you'll never get to the goal. Make sure the goal is always there. Write it down. Look at it. Stare at it. Right now off camera, I've got a goal written down of something I'm going after, and it's there every day. I look at it every single day. I know it's going to happen because that's my attitude. My attitude is this is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. I've done everything I know how to do to get to this one goal. And I'm like, what do I do next? I don't know what to do next because I think I've done everything I can possibly do. So what I do is I will set that goal aside just for a little bit and start on another goal because I don't know what else to do for this other goal. There's phone calls I can make. There are meetings I can set up. There are people I can reach out to and all that stuff. And I've got to begin getting out of my comfort zone a lot more about reaching out because I could reach out to a lot of people. But my biggest hang up has been in my life, and this is something I'm going to share with you. My biggest hang up in life is I don't want to bother anybody. Well, I don't want to bother that person. They don't need to hear from me, or they would never agree to this, or whatever it was. A lot of self-doubt. And this is with me, right? You're like, why would you have self-doubt? You've done some successful things. I have self-doubt every day, but I have to fight through. I have to fight over. I have to smash it back down into the dark pit where it's rising up from, because I don't want that self-doubt in my life. It's not for me, and it's not for you. You don't have self-doubt, and I don't have self-doubt because I'm not going to agree with that, and neither are you. We're here because we're visionaries. We want that break, and we have to understand the break isn't going to knock on your door. You have got to knock on more doors, and I cannot stress that enough. If you've knocked on 5 doors, knock on 6 the next day, knock on 7, 8, 9, 10 the following day. It's a percentage game. You want to get in that one door, knock on 20. It's always going to be a percentage game, guys. You have 100 meetings, 1 will work out, 2 might work out. It is a percentage game. It's like buying in the stock market. One stock goes up, other one goes down. But how many up stocks can you buy to offset the ones that go down? You need to Really focus on doing the work and the break will come. Do that work and the break is going to come. Because the break is something we all shoot for. It really is. But once that break happens and you've been given, the key to the city, are you ready to go into that next phase, which is actually making the project, which is actually, fulfilling that goal you've always had? So we'll talk about that in another video. But I'm just excited you guys listened. You're visionaries, don't forget. You have everything you have everything to live for and to shoot for and to be excited about, because you guys have such a great dream that only you can fulfill it. Only you can fulfill it. This is all about you fulfilling the dream that's been put inside your heart. Okay? So shoot for that break. And you know what? I guess that's a percentage game. Knock on more doors this week. Make more phone calls this week. Hey, look, it's only you that's slowing you down, really, if you think about it. It's only us that slow us down. If not, how come there are so many people out there that are making things happen right now and we aren't one of them? Or maybe you are, but you want to make more things happen, It all comes down to us. It all comes down to us. There's a very big dinner table out there and everyone's got a seat, but sometimes you got to fight for that seat at the table. Okay? All right, guys, have a great week. And remember, you're a visionary. Your vision is possible. We want you to believe, conceive, and achieve. Check out this channel. Watch all of our videos. There's very valuable information here on this channel. I think you're going to love it. Get my book, Mad Hustle. It is a book all about pitching and selling shows in Hollywood. Listen to our Mad Hustle podcast. You can get that wherever you listen to podcasts. We do it every week. Hope you enjoy that. And get the book on Amazon as well. All right, guys, have a great rest of your week. And don't forget, you can do this. I want to make your daydream your day job.